What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Sean Moore. We're back with our Expert Corner interviews, my favorite conversations every single week where we get to talk to short-term rental investors willing to share the good, the bad, the ugly of their journey into short-term rental investing. Today, we've got Zach and Kim Simpson from Bentonville, Arkansas joining us. Zach and Kim, welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Sean.
Thanks.
We're excited about it. It's been a couple years since we kicked off our relationship with Vodyssey and your partners throughout your organization. And man, it's been a great run. We've learned a lot, and we're excited to share some of that today.
Love it. Love it. And I love that we're able to dive into your guys' journey, because we were talking about before I hit record, a lot of these conversations are right after somebody launches their property. And we're going to get to be able to talk about a property and a real case study for a couple of years, right? Of the journey into it, launching it, how it's been going, the lessons learned throughout that. And so I'm really, really excited about the conversation we're going to have and for people to listen in on it. But I always like to start, before we start, just the backstory. Tell us a little about you guys, the family, what pays the bills, what got us interested in short-term rental investing. And so let's hear a little bit about the Simpsons.
Yeah, so we live in Bentonville, Arkansas. We're a blended family. We've got 5 kids. We are running all over, coaching baseball. I own my own small business. Kim's worked for a consumer packaged goods company for 17 years. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Just won a big award at work this last week. So really excited for her. My background was with Walmart. So not a big surprise here in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Right.
I was a vice president of merchandising and came right out of college and started up with that organization. And when Walmart ended for me, it was, quite a bit of a, okay, this is a big phase shift in my life. What do I really want to do next? And what do we want? And Kim and I were on a trip to Thailand as our a late post-COVID honeymoon. And, I was sitting on the airplane listening to a bunch of your podcasts, and I was like, man, we should do this. Like, this is really cool. Like, I love this notion of, passive income. I love this notion of generating and enhancing lifestyle. What we should think about this. We should really do it. And that was August of 2022 or 2023, somewhere in there, 2022, I think.
2022.
And we had our first property by the end of that calendar year. So we had a pretty quick turnaround in terms of going through the training and getting, a property identified, working with our partners, identifying our partners here in town and getting going. But yeah, that's a little bit about us and what our sort of onboarding story looked like with you guys.
Love it. Kim, you didn't have a lot of resistance then about when Zach was like, hey, let's do this. You were like, hey, well, I'm in, because if it went that fast, you must have been in. But were you as excited as he was at first?
I was. I think his excitement made me excited, and I then listened to some of your podcasts, and I like the idea of having a family business, and this was a way we could do that. So
awesome. Love it. And so walk me through, you end up with the property in Bentonville in your backyard, a market you knew very well. Obviously,
literally our house is like
0.2 miles,
a quarter mile from where we live.
So walk me through that, like, market selection. Did you know, like, hey, this would be fun, let's do this? Were you automatically thinking about like, a hometown type of a property, or were you exploring other markets?
For me, like, our goal is to have properties where we can also enhance our lifestyle. That could be, we love the Panhandle down in Florida. We love Colorado and Montana in the West. We love being out in the country. We love lake houses. Like, we love all that stuff. And so, we both have worked for Walmart in our past lives. And one of the key sort of like cultural elements of Walmart is a philosophy called eat what you cook. And that whole notion is all about, like, you better get in and understand reality really, really quickly in your business. You can't just sit here in Bentonville at the Ivory Tower and, expect that you understand what's going on in Great Bend, Kansas. Like
Right.
you have got to get your butt out into the market and get a feel for what reality looks like. And so I think both of us having that sort of a mentality ingrained in us, we made a decision that, well, it was a couple of key facets on why we went local with our first one. I'll cover the first part, and then Kim, you can handle the family piece. But for us, it was, we kind of wanted to learn the ropes. And there are certainly elements on acquiring and strategy and getting set up and all that. But, we both really felt like in order to understand the process and to go bigger and broader, it's a big investment. For us, this is a big investment. We really wanted to get our hands dirty and have a feel for what it was going to take and where the bodies were going to be buried as we went forward around a lot of the elements of the good and the bad and the great and the ugly associated with this process. And we thought being so close to it to start with would be really helpful. And that was spot on for our experience. Yeah. And then you want to handle the family piece?
Yeah, so we do utilize the property for personal. Also, we have family that comes out of town that stays in it. We have adult children that like to use the property with their friends, and graduation parties. So we also utilize it for personal, even though it's just right down the road. So.
Right. So it is truly a lifestyle asset still, even being within the same, a hometown property, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have one that's right. I mean, it's literally a mile down the street from us, and the area we live is, it's a ski resort town. And so lots of people who like to come in, but so do our friends and family and everything else. Like, why would you have that property that's so close to home? Well, it's because you can actually utilize those properties when people are coming in and out. Right. And we do as well all the time. And so I totally understand that still can be a lifestyle asset even though it's right next, very 100%. Close to home. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So we decided that we decided to go into the market, which Bentonville, by the way, is a really good short-term rental market. Yeah. And, it's there's a lot that it has to offer. It's becoming obviously you guys mentioned your background with Walmart, where it's the headquarters there, but the Waltons have invested a lot of money into making that, a very good destination type market as well, especially with the mountain biking. And I mean, even like the cultural and arts that they're investing in and all of that different stuff. I mean, there's a lot to do in that area.
It's an unbelievable area. We're growing incredibly rapidly here. The house price alone on the property that we bought, just in 2022 is asinine how much property appreciation we've gotten, even in this higher interest rate market. We knew the house is located in an area that's right between Sam's Club headquarters and Walmart headquarters. Mm-hmm. And Walmart just opened a brand new corporate campus here in town, which is similar to Google's campus, which is pretty fabled out west. And so we knew the house would be in a great corridor of growth. It's an old asset. I think the house was built in like 68 or 70 and needed a lot of renovation and remodeling. But we live in a house similar to that. And so we knew it could be done, and we knew the house could be, turned into something with, paint and floors and some fixtures and lights, and then Mike's touch that would really help us to grow into something that would be very, very attractive. But it's amazing how many people are coming to vacation in this market that we live in. It's kind of mind-boggling to us sometimes.
Yeah, that's our number one demographic. You think we'd get a lot of business guests coming in, but it's mostly families coming to mountain bike. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is. I've actually never been. I'd love to come visit. I've heard nothing but good things about Bentonville and what they're doing there and how much it is growing. I mean, obviously we've got a few members that are, in that market right now, but it's, I think you guys might've been one of our first in that market, but now we were
the second in this market. We got connected through the alumni group of Vodyssey with the Popes. Yeah. And, that's one of the things that, when you think about people that really helped you along the way, it was so great to be able to go out with the Popes and, break bread and have dinner and drinks with them, and to have them share their experience. It catalyzed for us the confidence that we needed. They've got a bunch of properties here in the area, and they're beautifully done and executed. And they were a huge help to us as we were getting started. And so that alumni network was something we were a little bit maybe hesitant and felt like we had a little bit of imposter syndrome coming into. But man, was that a great experience for us. And they could not have been more generous and paid it forward, the generosity that I'm sure folks have paid to them through the years, and what they learned through Vodyssey and their onboarding process. They were fantastic. And I would highly recommend anybody that's listening, man, if you can find some people that have done this before, if it's your first go round, folks like to help people and pay forward goodwill. And I wish we had done more of that, but the folks we did engage with were phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We hear it all the time. I always, even when we do surveys within our group to see what we can do better as a company, and we say, what do you like? What do you not like? And overwhelmingly, the most valuable thing that people have and access to is the community. And especially when you start tapping into it. And like you said, people just ask. People love to help. You're so right. Like we think that we're being a bother, or we think that, maybe I shouldn't bug them with it, or they don't want to share their secrets. Cause what if I compete with them now? That's so not true. People love to help, in general.
Yeah. Even, one of our pain points, cause we self-manage, Sean, is, cleaners. And the Popes were like, here are the people we use, like call them up. And you realize what a precious commodity good cleaners are, and good support is. And, I was a little bit, dumbfounded about how generous they were with even those types of precious partners in their business, because those folks have a fixed amount of time. And so that was something that I definitely learned along the way, is those partners are incredibly valuable in that alumni network.
That's awesome. And so we started looking at the properties. We started, analyzing it. You mentioned a few partners along the way. I'm going to back up to kind of that stage of, we found the property. You mentioned that it was maybe a little bit of a fixer upper. Didn't sound like anything major, or was it major? And then so like that
depends. Major is a very relative term.
Exactly. How major is it?
We did the demo, and we did get our kids, mother-in-law, father-in-law involved in the demo. So that was fun. But we were scraping popcorn ceilings. We were ripping up carpet. Zach was like, Kim, those shows where they rip up the carpet and there's this beautiful wood flooring? We have another floor, but it's not like that.
It's not that.
It's like yellow linoleum underneath it.
Generations of wallpaper behind the mirrors.
Literally generations.
The bathroom. It was a lot.
It was a lot. But, Sean, we love that house now, though. And when people compliment us on it, we're very genuine when we say, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into that place. I mean, we definitely, I think that's one of the things that, as Kim and I have talked about, our next property, when that happens, we don't have a desire to do the full reno ourselves. Obviously we had help on things like installing flooring and the things that you need help installing. But I mean, we painted the exterior of the house on our anniversary that year because we had to get it on the market. Like we needed to, for tax reasons, like we needed to get people into the place. And we were on a tight timeline because we bought in the fourth quarter. And so it was, those were some of the things that I think were part of that learning curve that I don't regret doing it at all. Not at all. And when we got in over our head on reno, we had help, whether it was friends that know what they're doing, or we called professionals and paid the money to have it done right along the way. And we were really pleased with the outcome, but it was a massive labor of love, from floors to ceilings and everything in between. We're damn proud of what we did in that place. And we're very, maybe not protective of is the right word, but we have a lot of pride in that asset for our family and what it means and what it represents also to us. It's not just an asset on the books. It's something that is part of Kim and I's story. And it's always fun to go back and look at pictures and all that of those times and reminisce on it, because they were some of the best of times for us, was doing that together.
Yeah, a lot of memories. Wasn't fun or funny in the moment, but is now.
But looking back now, lots of stories. I hear that's a version of that story so often, and every time I hear it, I always get goosebumps, because I relate back to some of those times where I went through that stuff. Like we all, like once you've done it, you're like, and you hear the stories and you're just like, oh, I don't want to, I don't like want to do it. But looking back, there's such a sense of pride and accomplishment, and like, and look what we did together. And look what, like, remember when, like what you said here and what I did there, and we laugh about it then. And at the time it was, you're like in the moment, in the heat of it. And you're just like, it wasn't funny at all. Like you said, sometimes it's not funny. It's not fun, but you look back and you're like, I don't know that I would trade it for the world. And to your point too, you started off by saying, you have this, you're like, hey, if we're going to do this, we want to do it. We want to learn it. We want to understand. I want to understand every part of this business. And sometimes that first property too, it also represents the beginning of the journey. And you're like, hey, listen, we took a pretty direct, like involved path here, and good or bad, however this thing's turning out, we can say we did that. Right. And knowing that, and like you said, there's just pride there. And you're like, I don't know, until you've actually experienced that, it's hard to explain it. But I love hearing the versions of those stories when you're just like in the middle of it. And I'm like you, I actually don't do that stuff anymore. I just hire it out. Right. But at the same time there's always a part of me that kind of wonders if I should just, like, every once in a while, I'm like, I think I'm going to go do another one. I think I want the kids involved at this stage, or I want, want everybody grabbing the paintbrushes and the hammers, and let's go do this, because like, I don't want them to miss out on those types of lessons and stuff. And so Teresa and I actually talk about that on the next one. We're like, let's get another little fixer upper. And, the kids they're old enough now, they're 15. They can like work hard and do that. And I don't want them to miss out on those experiences either.
Spot on.
It's how much, because I know for me, sometimes we spend that too much time and effort, and we know the stories and we know the backstory of the property, and it comes to life, and somebody doesn't treat it the same way we would. There's like that sometimes you can be a little too close to some of it too. And you're like, I need to kind of remove myself from like seeing some of the things that might happen at the property because I'm so close to it. Have you ever experienced any of that yet?
1,000,000,000%. And I don't know. I don't remember the exact quote from the training, but so if I'm misquoting it, correct me, man. But it's something to the effect of like, unless you're going to file an insurance claim, like it's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And there are so many times that I've gotten worked up about I go over there and something's messed up, or Kim goes over there and something's messed up. And she's like, they should pay for this. And we both have come back and shared that little snippet. And I don't know if it's in our own minds that we've created that story, or if it came from the popes or what have you. But there's so many times we've gone through and said like, the value of having a satisfied guest coming through their experience, and the potential for repeat business, and the fact that this is an asset that is meant to be used. And it's, we've got kids, we're a pet friendly property also in the place. It's just something that there are people that we have on our list of folks we will never rent to, or not rent, but we will never have back. But we were graceful and gracious hosts through that process. And I do think that, us being partners in this business we both had to check each other at times when it comes to that type of people not treating the asset the way we would probably treat it ourselves, or we treat other short-term rentals when we're out traveling.
But I think that you can see that in our reviews too. We do have a high review count, and people are generous with the feedback they give. It's not like one sentence like "great property," would come back. They're pretty detailed in their reviews.
That's a direct reflection on you guys as hosts. I always say when I'm looking for a property manager, I don't manage my own property. So I have to look for those property managers that have that type of reputation. That is not, I always tell people when you're selecting a property manager, go look at the properties they manage and look at the reviews, because the reviews are not a reflection of the property itself. The reviews are a reflection of the host. And that's what you guys have done. I mean, obviously an amazing job of hosting. Those of you that are listening, you guys know we always post the properties in the show notes, so you can go check it out, and you should read the reviews, because, delivering that experience is so important. And you can tell, like, it's, you got 140 or 100 and something 5-star reviews, and people are, they're writing paragraphs, right? It's not like, hey, this is an amazing place, I'll come back. It's paragraphs of stuff. And that's a reflection, and you guys should be really, really proud of the delivery that you're doing with those guests.
Yeah, it's not that hard either, Sean. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't spend just hours and hours a week. I mean, we spend we've got a routine down now that we run through. We know what we're going to say. We know the issues that come up. We're confident in how to respond to them. But it's not always rainbows and butterflies either. Yeah. I mean, stuff goes wrong, at properties all the time, and the how you handle those things really matters.
Yeah.
And, for us, we've had, repeat guests on, folks where the air conditioning went out in the house, and, we had to go buy AC units and stuff. I mean, that's a one-off thing that happened, but, we've done a really good job. We really value that first moment of truth as people come into the house. We do a handwritten note that's simple. We had some stationery made for our property, and we write out a handwritten note and ask them in that note that if our goal is for them to have a great experience, to love their stay, and that we can earn a 5-star review. And I'm shocked. We probably have, I'd say 95% or higher of the guests that we've had over the course of the last 3 years leave a review. And it's not just like a thanks, this was great. It's a meaty review that it really means a lot to Kim and I. But I think it starts with that upfront of saying that's how you can reward us for our for being great hosts.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. And it's always too, like you mentioned, things happen, things go wrong. One, you can buy yourself so much grace, and you can almost guarantee a 5-star review when you have an issue, when you handle it well. Like, it's almost like we think that if we're going to have an issue, it's going to be a bad review. That's not the case. That when you handle it professionally, you handle it like you let them know, hey, listen, I do care that this happened. Like, I want you to have an amazing experience. AC goes out in the summer in Arkansas is not ideal, right? And so it's like we go, but how you handle it, they're like, man, you guys were awesome. Thanks for making this a priority for us, right? And they feel that.
Yeah, we've also, I think, done a good job of, if there is an issue with the place, whether it's like the hot tub's down, or in that issue where the AC went out, managing expectations with guests before they get there also is something that we've done a really good job of saying, hey, this piece of the property is not the way it should be. We generally, we've given a small refund to the guest as a like, hey, this isn't exactly up to par with, the way our listing looks. And we've taken a preemptive strike against some of that with guests. And we've never had an issue or a situation where we had a guest that had a problem with the property that we didn't get a glowing 5-star review out of. It's amazing, to your point.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's also the frame of reference, or just a mindset. Like, I get removed from a lot of the issues on my properties. I don't get to see them firsthand, right? And so, but I talk to a lot of people who do, and I always, I always try to remind people, like, everything that happens that's wrong, or somebody left your property not how we would leave it, it wasn't done maliciously most of the time. Sometimes people just don't live the same way we do. And so they could be living the way that they live in their own house, in our house. And so they are treating it like their own house. And we look at it, and instead of being mad, it's like, man, at the end of the day, everything can be cleaned up. Everything can be fixed. I am not privy to see a lot of these properties, but one of my properties we launched, and like the second or third guest that was in there, they had like a party. It looked like I've told the story before. It looked like The Hangover, really. And like, it was like the mattresses were out on the deck. There was booze bottles everywhere. I'm like, and so the cleaners and the property manager sent me, they're like, what do you want to do? Like, this is like you just furnished this. This is brand new. And this thing just looked like it got flipped upside down. And so I was like, holy crap. I'm like, this is like, my initial reaction was like, call the guest and charge them and fine them and everything else. And so I actually sent the guest a message, and I just said, hey, I'm the property owner. What happened? And that's all I asked at the time. And I was still really kind of mad. And good thing I didn't write anything else. It was a lady, and she was so embarrassed. She was like, oh my gosh, we were on a girls' trip. It got like, we drank too much. I'm so sorry. I will pay for everything. I'm going to fix it all. We're going to handle this, whatever. And so she was like so embarrassed, and I was like, whoa. And so then I was like, she's been back to my property now like 5 times. She's a repeat customer, and I'm like, and she's one of the best guests, but it's, I normally, like, you can be really defensive and we could have gone after her with like a lot of like, what, like very rude, and instead of just being like, and I actually wasn't smart enough to not do that. I actually I was kind of upset, because I was like, man, we just spent a bunch of money on this property, just barely. And I was like, what happened? And luckily she read that as like, maybe not as mad as I was in my head. And she came back. And so it kind of calmed me down. But ever since then, I'm like, you just don't know. And sometimes people are like embarrassed about it. Sometimes you don't know how they live. Like, if you walk by somebody's car, you look inside cars, and some of them are just filthy. You're like, man, like, that's not how my car looks, and it's not how our houses look sometimes, but most of it can be cleaned up, and they might not have been, doing it maliciously, which I think sometimes we feel like that. I think sometimes when you're really close to something, you feel like it was like a direct, disrespect to you personally. And it really isn't a lot of times. Sometimes you get those people who are trying to take advantage. And like you said, they make the blacklist. We're not renting to them anymore. And sometimes even somebody that wasn't malicious, I'm not renting to them again, because they just are too hard on the property. Right. And but you still handle it with respect and with grace to them, and saying, hey, listen, we hope you had a great time regardless, and we'll put it back together, and we move on. Right. And like, to your point, Zach, that's what we tell our members. We tell our property managers, like, just fix it. Let's just let's just move on. Unless I'm going to make an insurance claim, unless it's going to be some major damage, like, we'll just let's put it back together and get ready for the next one. Right. And so, and you guys, when you're dealing with it, sometimes it's hard, but I'm preaching to the choir when I say that you guys are handling it very, very well, based on 100% reading those reviews. And so, as we're talking about some of those challenges with management, you said, doesn't take that much time. It's not like we've got our systems down now. We know how to communicate, all that stuff. Right before we hit record, Kim, you were talking to me about turnovers and some of the challenges with that. And I loved your solution to making that easier for yourself. Right. And so, like, why don't you talk to me about like turnovers and same day turnovers, because that is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, we want to make sure all the bedding is clean. And so same day turnovers put a lot of pressure on, because laundry just takes time. So our solution was to get bags with full bedding it's like, okay, this is for the primary bedroom. It's all clean. You take off the dirty, you put the new, and it's good to go. Another solution that we had was, we've had issues with the hot tub. It's a pain point for us. And so we came up with a method to get little Tupperware jars where we put the chemical in it, and we tell the guests when they check in, like, hey, this is where you can find it. It's super easy then for them to dump that little Tupperware cup into the hot tub when they're done using it. So we've just solutioned as we've come through issues, and it's worked really well for us.
Yeah, I think that's the key as well, right? And those are really common problems for a lot of people. So I love that you share that. Like it's like, how easy is it? Yeah, just to get pre-measured chemicals that they can just dump in when they're done. It's like, hey, just as soon as you're done, dump this in. It'll keep the water nice and clear for you for the next time. But really, it helps you guys keep it nice and clear for the next guest.
The other thing it does for us, Sean, is if we go into the cabinet to refill those containers and they're all full, we're like,
Right.
all right, we got to go take more invasive action against that,
Right.
that hot tub right now, because that thing just, it can turn so fast.
Yes.
When we did the analysis on our market, we saw that properties with hot tubs were getting a premium. We saw that properties that allowed pets were getting a premium. And so we're like, we're putting hardwood floors in. We got ruggables so we can wash those rugs if we have pet, accidents. And we bought a hot tub and, poured a slab and got, that hot tub put in. And pets have been a complete non-issue for us.
Yeah.
Like, pets are way less hard on a property than kids are. Kids are way harder on our property than pets are.
Yep.
But that hot tub has been something that has been a bad surprise, where it can be fine on a Friday before somebody checks in for a weekend, and you come back and it's a fish tank on Monday, and you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Or somebody checks out on a Tuesday, and by a Thursday it's turned really, really bad. And we've spent time with the hot tub store, and how do we, solution this and try to do things. But yeah, I think we have gotten in a better rhythm, and experimented with it and kind of done a lot of that trial and error and learning around how to solution some of these problems as we go forward into subsequent properties down the road.
Love it. On the hot tub, I should be a rep for this company, because for pools and hot tubs, I found this company called Pool Day, and they've got this solution. It's called Simple Scoop or Simple Solution or something. You go in and buy it. Go get that. I'm not kidding. For our pools and our hot tubs, once they're stabilized, you just put a scoop of that in there and they stay crystal clear. I mean, even if somebody jumps in there with all kinds of lotions and everything else, where we would have our shock in there and we'd have all the other stuff that going on, nothing worked. I got this stuff from Pool Day and it's called Simple Scoop, and you use that and it's it is crystal clear.
We'll check it out.
Doing after the podcast.
Our worst experience was that we showed up one day and the hot tub was blue. And we were like, what the heck? And it turns out that the guest we had at the house had just dyed her hair.
Oh, man.
Very vibrant blue color, and then proceeded to hop into the hot tub. And the whole thing was like Easter egg dye. We don't need to tell that story.
The hot tub storage. You got to go to Pool Day and go tell me. Right. We'll have a conversation in a month and tell me if it worked. It actually, I don't even know what's in it. It doesn't seem like that harsh when you put it in. It's not like a bunch of chlorine or anything. I don't know what's in it, but it works wonders for our pools and our hot tubs. I use a little scoop in the hot tub as well, and so we'll try that. Awesome. So talk to me just about, because it's rare that we have and talk to somebody that has a property that's got the performance record for a couple years. I'd love to hear about kind of what we projected, if you remember roughly what you were projecting, how it's performing as far as your revenue and all that kind of stuff. I know we talked about lots of people using it, lots of people loving it, but talk to me about projections and actuals, if you know them.
I don't remember the projections off the top of my head. I want to say it was in the 65 to 70,000 range. We were conservative in our market and what we had projected. Our first full year was actually our best revenue year on the property. And there's a reason for that, and I'll get to it in a second. But we really tried to optimize for pricing and occupancy in year one. And it was a lot of turnovers. It was, we even did 1 days because we thought we would get business travel into Bentonville. So we were doing 1 days and all that. And it was a lot of work, and ended up putting more pressure than I think we desired to have on our day jobs.
Yeah.
And, some of those things pop up when you don't want them to. And so we ended up doing, in year one, we did about $67,000. So we were pretty close to the projection in year one. As we've gone through in subsequent years, we've been more protective of a couple things. The first thing is we price the property more premium in an attempt to, and we found, I know you talk about it on your show a lot. I mean, the quality of the guests that you get when you price at a premium is so much better. Oh my gosh. We have very, very few problems with guests. 99+% of the people who come through our place are awesome human beings, really respect the asset. It was when we were really trying to optimize, occupancy and one nights here and there that we had some, I don't know if you want to call it riffraff, but we had more, rough folks coming through the place. Yeah. And so I think we've sacrificed maybe some occupancy. We've also really protected in some instances against same day turns. And so this weekend, Kim just told me this morning, she's like, hey, I blocked Saturday because I don't want a same day turn going into, with you having baseball tournaments this weekend with the kids and
Father's
your dad
Day.
being in town for Father's Day and all that. She's like, hey, I blocked it this weekend. And so it's a business decision for us. We were actually last year substantially more profitable than we have ever been in the other years that we've run it. We turned a meaningful double digit, like we turned a $12,000 profit on the place last year on the business. And it was like, okay, this is a real business. It's a real asset. This is really performing for us. And so I think we got out of our own heads a little bit on, we've got to be at 90% occupancy, even though we only modeled it at 70%.
Yeah.
We've run occupancy, probably a little bit lower. We've also, had family and friends that come into town to visit, and we're proud of that place. And we think that's, a good thing to do for our family when they come into town to visit, is to say, hey, take it for Christmas. Like we let our family have it at Christmas, which is a peak week. And we didn't do that in the year prior or the year prior to that, where we were like, those are peak weeks. We need to protect peak weeks. Let's make sure that we, don't do that. And another thing that came up was the Waltons did a big music festival here for a couple years. And we were running Austin during ACL type, nightly rates. We're walking distance from the venue that they used for that.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get a huge boon of, a couple of nights for that concert, and they didn't repeat it this last year. And it's just, it goes with the flow. That's the nature of the shifts in the economy and the market and the business and all that. But I think we have really found a good sweet spot this year with operating costs, as well as how much intensity we want to instill upon ourselves as people managing back office, guest relations, and managing on-site turnover when it comes to it. So I think we've just gotten into a better place where we're not like, we have to optimize to the 100th percentile in order to squeeze, every drop of juice out of this orange. We've gotten to a better place with it, I think.
I love that. I love the hearing that evolution, because it is so common. We're, especially like you say, we're chasing occupancy, we're chasing top line revenue. We're like, hey, how do I fill every single gap available? And especially when you're managing your own property, now you're very directly involved in the logistics of operations and everything else. And you're like, hey, listen, operational expenses go up, operational time spent goes up, and a lot of times we don't realize how valuable our time is, and where you start to say, hey, listen, I'm going to dial back certain things. We're going to cut this out, and we're not going to allow this. And all of a sudden, what we really should be chasing is profit margins, right? And saying, and we realize I don't need that that top line revenue and that occupancy, if I actually trim some of these things down, I actually can put more money in my pocket, but I'm also having a heck of a lot better lifestyle on the back end managing
That's
this thing. And everybody's different on what they want to optimize for, where they want to protect their time, what they want to be able to do. And as you evolve with these assets, we start to refine that, and it starts to say, hey, we're kind of hitting our sweet spot now. This is kind of where we like this hanging out. Now, property number 2 probably won't take a year or two to kind of figure that out. You're going to say, we're going to kind of start here. This is kind of going to be the goal here on this next one or whatever, right? So we learn along the way, but it is really, really common. And we actually don't get to talk about it a lot on the podcast when we have these interviews, because we don't usually talk to somebody after they've had a couple year evolution in it of kind of realizing, where does this fit into your lifestyle? I call them lifestyle assets for a reason. Like, even when you're managing them, we have to make sure that they fit into not only as an asset, a financial asset, but also a lifestyle asset. And I love that the conversation led to that today, and appreciate you sharing that. What, as we wrap up, first of all, this is awesome. I always loved, I never want to keep you like all day long, but I could always, I look at the clock and I'm like, oh, I always tell you it's going to be a 20 or 30 minute conversation, and we start going 40, 50 minutes, but I want to respect your guys' time as well. And appreciate you letting people listen in. When we wrap up these conversations, I know there's so many lessons learned along the way. I know there's so many things that we could share, and we talked a lot about them. Is there, when I go to the end and I say, hey, listen, if you go back to your younger self, give your, whether it was your younger self, somebody else is thinking about getting into this game, what words of wisdom, advice would you give them? And I want you both to answer it. So Zach, I'll let you start, and Kim, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's 2 ways that I think about it. It's like the presence of positives and then the negatives associated with it. Things that I think we did really well on it. I loved working with Mike, and the design components that you guys preach in your in your course. We went like verbatim on it. And the place is gorgeous. Mike and his team could not have been more helpful. And we get so many compliments out of like, wow, this is the best Airbnb I've ever been to. This is the best short-term rental. Some cool things that we did like with the property were like, we have a local coffee chain here called Onyx, which is a well-known global coffee chain now. But we got like those candy dispensers that you just twist the dial and the Skittles or M&Ms fall out of. And we picked 3 different coffee styles from this local coffee roaster. And our guests just love that. And it's a really unique deal. It's pretty smooth how that's turned out. And, coffee has such high household penetration. So many people use it. I think that's something that top tier, high end short-term rentals could replicate really, really well. For us, in terms of things that I would do differently, going forward, I'd always worked in big corporate, and a great paycheck coming from, it shows up every 2 weeks, and you never get to play the tax game because you're a W-2. And so I wish I had learned the tax leverage that you get off of these. And I remember when we did our accelerated depreciation with the IRS, and I looked at the amount that we were going to be able to write off in the first year, I was like, holy cow, are you serious with this? And so that's something that I wish I learned a lot from your training. And it's something that I wish as a owner, I would have done more of in the past. And then talking to my past self, I wish I would have gotten in at better interest rates, because our interest rate sucks on our place. It is our biggest issue we have, is that it's a high relative interest rate to, what's been out there the last 10 or 15 years. And we're paying the investment premium on top of it. And so we are just getting like that piece of it has been really tough. And so we are very keen to watch the, rates and how they're moving around to refi. And so that would be something that has had such a big impact on our P&L at the end of the day. When I look at it, that's something that I look at and think I could have done better. I should have done better at that piece of it. Because you just don't you just don't do it very often over the course of your life, is to go hunting for those types of rates. And I could have done better at that. So.
Well, hopefully that I know that we didn't hear what we wanted to hear this week, but that they're holding. But it's we're hoping that we can. I've got a couple properties like that right now as well that I'm like, okay, I gotta. It's like an instant raise to myself the minute those rates come down. But awesome, Kim, where are you at? Where what's coming to your mind?
Take advantage of all the Vodyssey training. We learned so much. We had never done this before, so it really got up to speed on everything from pricing out the property to make sure you can make money on it, to the design, to the marketing. We took advantage of all of it. The community as well. I know Zach touched on it earlier, but the Popes were really great to us, as well as the community online. I mean, we had never done this before, and we knew that if there was an issue, someone in the community had probably dealt with it before. So that was great. Things that I would do differently is we did want to take advantage of the 100% tax depreciation, and we bought in the fall. And so
that's
we did not have enough time to reno and get going. And it put too much pressure on us to get it started.
The cash lag was going to take a whole nother year if we had to wait, if we didn't get it on the market and get people going in that calendar year. And so it was a lot. That's a great point, because it was a lot of time pressure. I think we closed in like October.
Yeah.
And then we completely remodeled the house and decorated it. The Black Friday deals were great. It was awesome to be able to furnish a place off Black Friday deals, but it also puts a lot of pressure on being able to get the house on the market that late in the year.
So.
Yeah, that's. I was just talking to an investor earlier today, and we're mid-July or mid-June, and he said I'm a couple months out before we start, and he's a huge W-2 income earner, has a massive tax bill, and he's like, I've got to do this year. I've got to get it done. And I said, you don't realize how long these properties take to get up and running. And if you're waiting until the fourth quarter to buy, your back is really against the wall. I tell people you got to give yourself that 4 to 6 month window to be able to get stuff done. And it sounds like you guys would agree with that. That October purchase, you don't realize that it seems like you have plenty of time. You don't. You really need that 4 to 6 month on the minimum side. More average, probably 6 months to get a property acquired, renoed if there's any, which there's usually something, the setup, launched, all that stuff, so that you make sure that you don't feel like you're just rushing and like working on your anniversary and painting houses, right?
Yeah.
And so
happy anniversary. We're painting the exterior of the house.
Exactly. Well, guys, this has been an amazing conversation. I sure appreciate you letting people listen in on it and being a part of the podcast. Those of you that are listening, I know how valuable your time is, and we very, very much appreciate you spending it with us. And I hope you got as much value out of these conversations as I get. I tell you guys, every single week when I have these conversations, they're my favorite ones of the week. I always learn from them. There's always new things that I'm going to do. In fact, the two things I'm making like mental notes. Like I want to do, I didn't see your coffee dispenser. Like I like the candy dispenser for the coffee. I'm like, I want to do that in 2 of my properties like right now. And so those are like, there's always things that I'm like taking notes about as well. And it's always fun to just continue to raise the bar, talk to, like, we've got this process that we follow, but like you guys, you take the process, but everybody puts their own spin to it. Right. And it makes it better and better and better. And so it's fun to be able to have these conversations. So we do hope you guys listening get that same value out of these shows. You guys know you're not listening to a whole bunch of conversations and, sponsorships and ads and everything else interrupting you. You get to listen to this entire conversation ad free. And the only way that the show grows is if you guys share it. So we always ask you that favor at the end of those episodes to share the show. If you don't have anybody to share it with, like it or review it. And those algorithms will do a good job of sharing it to other people just like you. And the final, most important thing I ask you at the end of every episode is pick that one thing you can do today. Start building that life you don't want to take vacation from. Cheers, my friends.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website?
Yes! For more amazing
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.